For 13 through 14, we're asked to write the equation of the line in standard form. We already have an equation, but the first one in 13 is in y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form. In order to move it into standard form, we have to first address fractions. There are no fractional coefficients in standard form, so I'll multiply every term in the equation by 3. And that will clear the fractions, and then we can rearrange the terms in the order for standard form. So now we have 3y is equal to 2 times x plus 15, and we can subtract 2x from both sides. Remember that the x term comes first in standard form, so now negative 2x plus 3y equals 15. The coefficient of x may not be negative, so we'll multiply through by negative 1 every single term. And now we have the equation in standard form, 2x minus 3y equals negative 15. Let's move on to number 14. In this equation, we're given it in point-slope form, but we can also transform to standard form by first multiplying through by 5 to clear any fractional coefficients. So 5 times y plus 3 equals 5 times 2/5 times x minus 2. On the left side of the equation, we can distribute the multiplication over the addition in the parentheses. And then it's easiest if we do the multiplication outside the parentheses first, and that will give us a result of 2, which we can then multiply times the contents of the parentheses, or distribute that multiplication over the subtraction. Now we have 2x minus 4 on the right side. Let's move the x terms and y terms to the same side, so I'll do that by subtracting 2x from both sides, and that 15 on the left needs to move over to the right, so we will subtract 15 from both sides. Now that gives us negative 2x plus 5y is equal to negative 19. Remember that standard form may not have a negative first or x coefficient, so I'll multiply all terms through by negative 1. And that gives us 2x minus 5y is equal to positive 19. For numbers 15 through 17, we are finding the slope of the line passing through given points. I'm going to suggest that in order to find slope, which is called m, that we use that template, something minus something divided by something minus something. And the something on the top is the y values that we are subtracting. So subtract negative 3 minus 5. And then on the bottom, we're going to subtract the x's. Negative 2 minus negative 12. It's important to keep the order consistent. So negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. Negative 2 minus negative 12 is negative 2 plus 12, which is 10. And that gives us a fraction that reduces to negative 4/5. For number 16, in order to find the slope, I'll use that template, subtract the y's on the top of the fraction and subtract the x's on the bottom. So I'm going to first start by identifying those y's for the top. And so we'll subtract on the top 8 minus negative 6. And on the bottom of the fraction, subtract the x's, 3 minus 3. 8 minus negative 6 is 14. 3 minus 3 is 0. And 14 divided by 0 is an undefined result. So the slope of this line that goes through those 2 points is undefined. For our next slope, again, I'm going to start with the slope template, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, but we don't have to write that formula necessarily. On the top, just remember you are subtracting the y's, so I'm going to put a negative 5 in both of those parentheses. And then on the bottom, 0 minus 5, subtract those x's. So on the top, -5 minus -5 is -5 plus 5, which is 0. In the denominator of the fraction, 0 minus 5 is -5, and 0 divided by -5 is 0. Be sure to simplify your final answer. We don't ever leave a fraction with a 0 numerator. We simplify that and do the division. 0 divided by -5 is equal to 0. All right, moving on to 18 through 22, we're writing an equation for each line described. All of these lines described are special lines, which is going to make it easier to write their equations. Let's remember something important. H0, HOY, VUX, HOYVUX. That tells us that horizontal lines have 0 slope and vertical lines have undefined slope. And horizontal lines equations are in y equals a number form. Vertical line equations are in x equals a number form. So first we have a horizontal line, and that means that our equation will start with y equals, and look at the point. The point has a y value of -7, so y equals -7 is the equation of a horizontal line through that point. For number 19, we have a vertical line. That means it's going to have an equation of the form x equals a number, and look at the coordinates. X is equal to 3. For number 20, a line through -2, 4 with a 0 slope. A 0 slope is a horizontal line, equations in y equals form. What's y equal to? 4. And for number 21 rather, we have an undefined slope. That means that we have an equation in x equals form because this is a vertical line. Look at the coordinates. The x value of the coordinate is -5, so the equation of the line is x equals -5. For number 22, we have a line that is through the point 2, 3 and perpendicular to y equals -5. Y equals -5 is a horizontal line. So perpendicular to that, a horizontal line would be a vertical line. And a vertical line has an equation in the form x equals a number. Look at the point that it goes through, x equals 2.